Welcome to the Live Intentional podcast. Here we will explore stories, ideas, and questions from our life with the hope to ignite you to live according to your values and beliefs.
On this podcast, we will share our visions from our past, present, and future.
Our hope is by us sharing our story, we can inspire you to live more intentional and make you think about new ways to get creative in your relationships.
We hope you will follow us on this journey. Hey everyone, welcome to our first full episode of the Intentional Living podcast. Today we thought we'd just kind of start out with talking about our love story and how we met.
Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of start this first episode by telling you guys about our love story. Like we said in our trailer episode, we met in high school in 2009 as freshmen. Everybody's love story is different. We just think that ours is unique in our own way. So we kind of just wanted to share that with you guys.
So we met in math class freshman year, started dating second semester freshman year.
February 7th.
And you asked me out. Do you remember how you asked me out?
Not for the first time. No, I don't. Why?
You don't remember how you asked me to be your girlfriend?
Oh, I remember how I asked you to be my girlfriend. Did we go on a date before that or anything? We hung out.
Yeah, we did hang out.
I remember your parents wanted me to go to your house
Yeah.
first and meet them and come to your house. Like they thought it was like going to be something serious right off the bat.
I don't remember if our date was before that or after that, though. But I remember you asked me out by switching your name in my cell phone to "Will you go out with me?"
Will you go out with me? Yeah, and then I called you.
Yeah, so I
you were
read
like
it
in
when
the
you
bathroom
called.
or something, and then I called you, and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Did you come to my house before we started going out, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think I came to
I
your
think we
house,
both met each other's parents.
I think our parents. I think we actually all had dinner together before we.
Wait, my parents and your parents?
Yeah, they came over for dinner one night. I think that was before we officially started dating, or right after.
Oh my god, I don't even remember that, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
We knew it was just destined to be from that point.
So a fun fact that we found out when we started talking more is that my dad and Steven's parents went to high school together. Well, like Steven's whole family.
Yeah, yeah. Her family actually knows all my family. Well, your parents know my family. Your dad knows my family. They grew up together and went to high school together. And you went home and said, "Oh yeah, I'm talking to this kid, Steven Caparelli," and he's like, "Caparelli," and found out that they used to wrestle together and were in the same school, which was very
such
weird.
A small world
Yeah.
because you didn't live in this town
No,
anymore.
I didn't live in the same town, and I didn't go to high school in the same town that I lived in.
Yeah.
You were pretty close to the high school that we went to, so that was very interesting and weird, and maybe it was just destined to be from that point.
I remember my dad always says how big my smile was anytime I would mention your name.
Yeah, he always told me that when we first started dating, and how you would get all blushy and giddy when you were talking about me. Do you remember our first date story?
Yes.
Yeah, and we went there. We went to the restaurant that we had our first date for, maybe multiple anniversaries after.
Yeah, I feel like that was like our go-to spot for a while.
It was like kind of just to remember where it all started. But yeah, we went to a restaurant near us, and we had a nice dinner.
It's like a saloon and grill.
Saloon and grill.
Like family oriented.
Yeah, family. They do like line dancing there and everything. But yeah, we went there, had a nice dinner, and then...
Very nervous, though. I felt like I could hardly eat my meal because it was my very first, like, out-to-dinner date.
Yeah, it was like your first official date, I feel like.
But it was fun.
So neither of us could drive at that point, so my parents picked us up, and it wasn't just my parents. It was my parents, my aunt, uncle, cousins, and my brother picked us up in our RV trailer. So out front of this restaurant, we walk out, and there's just an RV with my whole family, like it was like a cheerleading section for our first date.
Yes. Had no clue that that's what they were picking us up in, but it definitely made it memorable.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so memorable is because of that ride home. And just, I think that kind of broke the ice because you were kind of quiet when we first started dating, like kind of nervous, you know.
I'm just like a naturally shy person at first.
And you definitely kind of warmed up, I feel like, too, like throughout our relationship. I did put here, like, maybe I was a little bit on the wild side where you were more laid back, and I think that kind of made the two of us balanced each other out. Like, I took some of your laid back, you took some of my wild side where we'd like to go out hiking and we like the outdoors now. And that's kind of like what blended us together, I feel like, back then. And that kind of,
Yeah.
my family is just very loud and open, like to party and have fun. And you came in there like very quiet. And you
I'd be
always
a
used to
little
say
more
sorry,
reserved.
remember?
Yeah.
You always used to be like, I'm sorry. And then like one day my dad was just like, you got to stop saying sorry. And then Becca just like opened up, changed, and just was this like fun person to be around. So in your opinion, like, do you think that growing together and being high school sweethearts was challenging? Do you think that it kind of made us, kind of different in that aspect? Or how do you think that played a role being together now as adults and, 29 years old, and we started dating when we were 15, 16 years old? Like, we were young and kind of dumb, like we didn't know much. And I think we got to grow. The cool thing about dating in high school and then becoming, married down the line, growing together, is that you see each other through each other's stages. And when people change, it's something that it's hard to stay, with. And you got to kind of accept that change and hope that it's changed for the better, or hope that it's good change,
Yeah, I think that either like it's difficult, I feel like, to stay together since high school. It's definitely like not for everyone. And I think you either grow closer together, or as you're growing and maturing, because you do change. There's no way you're the same person that you were when you're 15. You have some of the similarities, but
Right.
you just become an adult. It's different. You have no cares, no worries, too much. Not a broad statement, but just too much when you're that age. And then as you get older, it becomes like the real world, and you just kind of have your everyday responsibilities on top of just growing in who you are and knowing who you are as you get older. So I think you either grow closer together, or you kind of like grow apart and realize, hey, like, you know what, we're just like not on the same path in life. Like, I don't really want the same things I wanted before, which is okay. That happens. That nothing is wrong with that. But I think that as we grew together, that we really were having like the similar ideas of what we wanted our life to look like as we were growing up and getting older.
I agree, yeah.
And our paths really aligned is what I think it was.
Yeah. I think I saw a lot of good in you when in high school that like I wanted to adapt into my life. I think that I know a lot of people say this with the person that they're dating or that they married, but like you really did bring out the best in me. And I liked that. And, you challenged me to continue to be a better person. And I think that that's coming, like when you're dating in high school, like you said, you have no cares in the world. And people always say, high school is the most important time of your life. It's the best time of your life. You have all these friends, no cares, enjoy it. But I think that, after the first year of dating, after freshman year, I think that we started taking life in general a lot more serious and kind of outlined, not that we specifically knew that we'd be together forever, because we knew that we would, that's a long road and that change was coming. But I think that we kind of accepted that change and wanted that challenge and wanted to do that together,
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we ended up seeing that, like, when we were with each other, that's like who, like, those big moments that happen, we wanted to share that together. So I think that even with like going to college, like that's a point in your life where like maybe you like want to go out more or whatever, just like experience college more. But I felt like we really liked the fact that we were experiencing it together. Like I don't have any regrets of like not being single during college. Like I like the fact that we experienced different college milestones together.
And I think that all also started in high school as well, knowing like that we wanted to have a future by that point. Especially I think by senior year we had a good thought that me and you were going to be together, and ride or die. Like if it was bad, then we were going to work it out together, and I think by that point we just knew that college was a place where we had to make the right steps in getting our life together. And now you're almost out of the house and it's time to grow up and figure out what you want to do in life and where you want to be. And the change that we're talking about that we experienced in high school that's not the only place that it happened. You could be dating in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and that change can still happen. And I think the best advice that we could probably give is, trying to adapt to each other, try and grow with that change. Like you said, it's not always going to be for the better. And sometimes people do grow apart, and you have to realize that it's either that you're growing apart or you're growing together that, makes this long of a relationship.
Yeah. And you're always going to have challenges in a relationship. It's not to say like that there's not, it's just working through those challenges together. Like you're on a team and it's about working through it together and like remembering that you're in it together. You're not against each other.
Do you think that was there a specific moment or like, did we sit down and talk about, being on a team together, like where, you know, we were going to tackle this together? Or do you think that we were just on the same page with that?
I think it happened, I don't know. I think it happened more as like the longer we were together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, if there was like an argument or something, sometimes it feels like you're like pinpointing it towards
Right.
one or the other. And I think it probably was more honestly like after college as we were getting older,
Into
where
the
we
real
kind of started maturing in that, because like
Mhm.
everyone argues, there's no way you're not gonna have arguments, but it's the way you argue and the
Right.
way you work through the arguments, like realizing that, hey, we're like looking for the same outcome of this, like
Right.
we're not working against each other during this, so like let's try to resolve it together.
Yeah, and if you're working for two different outcomes, you know, you're never, both you aren't going to be satisfied. I feel like there, if you're working towards two different outcomes, one's going to go one way, one's going to go the other way, and it's never going to come together that way. So try and find a happy medium or something that, you know, you're working together towards, I think.
So do you want to talk about like during our relationship how we like started traveling more, or how it kind of started? We started going on camping trips.
Yeah, I guess you weren't crazy outdoors, and that's kind of,
I was like
you know,
a beach lover.
Yeah, you
I
were
still
more
am.
the beach. Yeah, we both are, and you know, but my family always camped. And my dad had a camper, and then he bought an RV. So yeah, I mean, you tell it from your side, because you know I went my whole life, and that was, you know, your first experiences.
Yeah, that's true. So that was the first time I don't know if you can officially call it camping because we stayed in our RV, but that was the first time I did camping like activities in the woods.
And activities.
Yeah. So I definitely ended up loving it. I don't know if maybe because we weren't like in a tent camping,
Mhm.
it was a little bit more glamorous, I guess. But I always loved it, and I had fun doing that, and it was something that I kind of like wanted to continue. So now with like us being in a relationship together, you know, being married, living together, we kind of take like at least like one trip every year where we
to the mountains.
to the mountains, where it's not necessarily camping, but we're like outdoors hiking, like love to
Well,
have
now
bonfires.
I feel like it's even more glamorous because now we do cabins.
yeah, I guess
So you got what you wanted.
Kind of got a little further away from the
Eventually,
RV.
though, we do want to own a camper and, you know, go camping again. Or, you know, I'm trying to talk her into going tent camping, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll try that. We have a dog now, so
Yeah, that's gonna be a little bit difficult to
we'll do
tent
like
camp.
a night with him first.
Yeah, but I think that going camping together, I think, kind of like opened up our adventure side of both of us.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
definitely.
I grew up doing that stuff, and you, like you said, you grew up going to the beach.
Yeah, I always wanted to travel though. I've always wanted to see like multiple things.
Right.
Try to get out there and see the world.
Yeah, and I think that's just camping together. We both realized that, hey, this is a lot of fun. We're experiencing life together, and you know, things can go wrong camping. You know, it's a lot of fun, but you know, things can go wrong. And I think the best part about traveling and our adventures are, you know, the challenges that it brings up, and then like we were just talking about, it's about getting through those challenges together. Like when we just went to Acadia with your shoes and all. I mean, we could tell that story real quick if you want, with your shoes going up the side of the mountain.
Oh yeah, so I have a pair of hiking boots. Kind of forgot last time that we went hiking that the grip isn't the greatest on them. So when you're on like the rock face of the mountain, it doesn't have the best support for that. So we were hiking up this one mountain that had a lot of rock face, and it was kind of on like the side of the mountain. We had like kind of like the rods that you hold on to,
Yeah,
right?
the hiking sticks.
Like, well,
the metal,
the like tie
rungs.
rods kind
the
of thing,
rungs,
rungs that are like supported into the mountain for you to try to help your grip. So didn't realize what the hike was going to be like when we started out. When we got to that point, definitely had a moment where I was unsure about continuing further. I was just very nervous that my shoes were going to slip out, and it was definitely a point of the trip where you want to feel confident with the shoes that you're wearing, that you have a good support, and that you're not going to slip and really endanger yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So Stephen definitely helped talk me through that. I hit a point where I was really anxious and kind of froze for a moment.
And it's scary because you can't, on hikes like that, you can't go back down. I mean, the only way is to go up, because it's harder to get back down than it is up. So that's kind of like what I said to you.
Yeah, it was like pretty vertical.
You're halfway there. You're halfway up the mountain, and it's going to be a lot harder getting back down with those shoes than it is getting up. So let's, you know, just take our time and do it together and get to the top, and then the way down. When we do hikes, we always take the harder way up, obviously, and I suggest anybody who hikes do that, just because, you know, get the strenuous out of the way and take a nice ride back down. But yeah, challenges like that we accept when we do our adventures and travel. And I think that it helps us grow together, and not just together, but as individuals as well. But let's jump back into our love story. So do you have a moment, or when did you realize that maybe I was the one, or that this is going to work out?
I feel like I hoped during high school, but you're still very young at that point, and like you don't really foresee like the challenges that you have in college. Even just with like the studying, I had a program that required a lot of studying, so I feel like I didn't have a ton of free time.
Yeah.
And I feel like during then, like, you were very supportive, so during then I feel like was definitely when I was like realizing more that like, oh, I think that like this would work, you were really supportive of me.
Yeah, it was very hard. I mean, we went to the same college for a year and a half, 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And then I went to a local college, and that's when, your nursing stuff really took it to the next degree. And it was like, I was going to come up some days, and then you were like, I'm just going to sit here and study. And then some days I would come up and just sit there with you while you study. Like I would sit in the library with you. And I also had schoolwork to do at the time. But, like there was times where like you didn't even want to talk in the middle of studying just because of how strenuous it was. And I like hearing you say that, I was, supportive of it, because like I tried to be, and it's hard when you're not in those shoes and going through it to kind of realize what you are going through. I tried to be the most supportive I could be, and it was hard. You went through all of that and came out successful.
Yeah. I don't know if I have like an exact pinpoint time, but I feel like it was more of like a collection of like different moments, and just like how we were together, and like also just like how you feel. Like I was very comfortable, happy, like.
Yeah, and you could see that, like I said, like you were very quiet when we first started dating. You started to open up, and that was you getting more comfortable around me, my family, and just us together. And I think mine's kind of the same way. Is like I loved being around you, and like I said, you made me a better person. And then as the years continued, you continued to challenge me to be a better person. And I think that that continuous challenge for me to grow with you and with myself kind of made me realize, like this is going to be a lifetime of her trying to make me a better person. And you still do to this day. And I appreciated that then, and I appreciate it now. And I think that's why I stay with you for so long.
Do you have an exact moment that you realized?
I mean, we could just, if like that whole collection is the reason, but like if I had to pinpoint a moment, it's, I don't know, it could be a lot. I mean, we've been together for so long, and that first date, realizing that you stayed with me after that insane, family crashing of our first date, and that's pretty cool, And I just think that you were just very fun to be around. You made me laugh, and I think it's just a collection, like you said, of everything. And I think that most, some relationships, they will have that one moment where it was like, wow, this is a forever thing. But I think as you grow together and throughout years and trying to perfect a relationship, but you never will, that you just realize it's meant to be, because this person, challenges me. She wants me to be a better person. I hope you feel the same way about me. But we both challenge each other daily for even if we're just sitting on the couch, and we have these conversations like this. And that's why we kind of started to do this, is because we wanted to have these conversations and share what we talk about with you guys. Yeah.
This is like one of your ways of challenging me.
Yeah. I mean, this is way out of your comfort zone.
I'm definitely like more reserved for this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And like I told her, like, let's just have a conversation. We do it on the daily. So why not just record it and, let's see where it goes.
Yeah. So just like kind of from there, after college, like continue to date, we lived separately, and then we got married in 2019. And then that's where we'll kind of continue next week with talking about our marriage story and our honeymoon, which is like
we'll talk about our engagement story, our wedding a little bit, and then our honeymoon, which was probably, it's funny because we're talking about all these challenges together, but our honeymoon was like instantly right off the back, we get married, and now we're a married couple, and then our honeymoon was just a complete challenge in itself. Not that it was bad, and you're gonna have to wait till next week to find out, but it was definitely a challenge for us.
Definitely one of my favorite trips still.
Definitely. So we would both just like to thank you so much for listening to the very first episode of Intentional Living Podcast. If you could leave us a review on wherever you're listening by either just tapping on the stars or leaving a written review if you could. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter for weekly questions and content you won't see or hear on this podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See ya!